Good afternoon, everybody. Hello and welcome. My name is Raymond Miller. I'm the Graduate Recruitment Officer here at Queen's, and I'm joined by my colleague, Sandra Bloomer. Sandra, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sandra Bloomer, as Raymond has said, and I'm the Admissions Manager for Undergraduate Admissions at Queen's. Good to meet you all.
Thank you very much, Sandra. I want to welcome you all today and thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar, which is Considering Queen's, It's Not Too Late to Apply. The purpose of today is just to let you know that if you're in a position where you've maybe changed your mind about where you want to study in September, we're here to tell you that you can still change your UCAS choices at this stage. Today we'll also give you the opportunity to find out how you can apply to Queen's in September 2020 if that was something that you wanted to do. So in a moment, Sandra will talk you through all this, but after she has spoken, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions if you have any. So the chat feature isn't open at the minute, but it will be after Sandra has finished talking to you. First, I want to talk to you about the other webinars that we've actually been carrying out over the last number of weeks and months, just in case you missed any of them. So firstly, here we have our Student Life webinars. We have designed these to give you an insight into what it's like to be a student at Queen's outside of your academic work. So we've delivered webinars on things like Queen's Sport, Queen's Accommodation, Careers, Employability and Skills Services. If you have a disability at any level or you have wellbeing concerns, there's a webinar about that. We've also had a webinar about our Students' Union. We met with an alumni, Sinead O'Sullivan, who is a graduate of aerospace engineering at Queen's. And we've also met with our students and had a panel where we chatted to our students about what life at Queen's is really like. If you wanted to do that again, we have a webinar which we've entitled Student Life Drop-In. So that will be next Tuesday at 11 a.m., Tuesday the 16th. And that'll give you an opportunity to speak to myself and my colleague, Pat, the recruitment officers at Queen's, and also some current students. You can drop into that session, speak to them about anything you want, get the wee bit of last information you might need before making decisions. And if you want to sign up to that or view any of the previous webinars, I will put a link to that in the chat box once it opens. Other webinars which we have done are our subject webinars. So this gives you the opportunity to hear from academics and representatives in the course that you're thinking of studying. So whether that be accounting to biological sciences, computer science, civil engineering, law, we cover pretty much everything in those subject webinars. So if you want to tune into those, you can. And it gives you a wee insight into the course content, the different hours of study, assessment methods, and career opportunities. Again, I will link to those in the chat box feature a wee bit later on. And then finally, I just wanted to make you aware of our campus commitment. So if you're thinking about transitioning to university life at Queen's, some of you might be feeling a little anxious about what that might look like. To reassure you, we have put together a campus commitment, and that clearly sets out how we're going to provide you with a warm welcome at Queen's. It will be a safe and hygienic campus whenever you arrive, and to allow you to have an active student life and to have a really authentic campus experience once you come here. So some details of our commitment are on screen there, but again, I will send you full details of our campus commitment in the chat box, and you can read over that in full if you want to after this webinar. So without further ado, I'm just going to hand over to Sandra, and she'll be able to talk to you about changing your UCAS application.
Hello, everybody again. I'm just now going to look firstly, if you are holding, you've applied to Queen's and you're holding an offer, or you may be holding an offer at another institution, and now you have decided you would like to amend your UCAS choice, replies there. Now, what I would say to you, first of all, is that when you are considering your applications, and obviously your firm and insurance choice, you're choosing those. Once you have chosen those, and obviously as young people, you will know that you've had 5 choices on your UCAS application, and you may have been very lucky to have received 5 offers. And obviously this is now the stage where you're choosing your firm or your first choice. and then you're obviously choosing your backup choice, which is your insurance choice. So at this stage, if you decide, well, actually, I've now chosen my firm and insurance, and maybe I didn't choose Queen's and I would like to consider something now at Queen's that I had an offer for. Really what I want to do now is talk through the process for doing that. Now, obviously what I should say at the start is, if you have chosen your firm and insurance and you're within a 14-day period, you do have 14 days where you can automatically change your CF and CI choices. Now, obviously, bear in mind that you have to have had offers for these choices, for these degree programmes to start with. But if you're outside the 14-day period and you decide, well, actually, I'm holding a CF and a CI, you might be holding them at one university, you might be holding them at two different universities. And at that stage, you decide you would like to change. The first thing that you need to do is to contact UCAS and explain to them that you wish to amend out both your firm or indeed your firm or insurance. It may be firm and insurance. It may be firm or insurance. Sometimes what happens is young people will want to swap their firm and insurance, so they may have chosen an institution as their firm and now they think, well, actually, I would prefer to go to my insurance choice. So you might just simply be wanting to swap those. The other thing is sometimes young people will actually have chosen a firm and insurance and decide at that point they want to swap both of them to other applications that they have successfully received an offer for. So you contact UCAS, you provide them with the full details of the changes that you want to make, and it will be the UCAS customer experience team that you will actually contact there. Now, once you have done that, what you then need to do is contact each of the institutions and explain to them what you wish to do. So you may be contacting just your CF institution and saying, I want to change this to CI, or I want to decline the offer of a place now and I need your permission to do so. Or you might be contacting both your firm and insurance with similar information saying that you want to either swap these or you want to decline and choose something else. The key thing is that what you need to remember is that it needs the permission of each of the institutions involved in the process. So again, you will tell the institutions the full details, obviously, as I've explained, by indicating to them if you're wanting to swap a CF and CI, or if you're wanting to decline their offer completely and pick up an offer at another university, for example, Queen's, if you hadn't already chosen them at that stage. Once all the parties involved have contacted UCAS and have given their permission for you to choose them as CF or CI or decline their offer, and then the other institutions will say, we're giving permission and we are happy, as we would be if we've already made you an offer, we would be happy to accept the applicant as a firm. We then give the permission, and once UCAS has permission, obviously initially from yourself, because you're the person that has generated the request to change, and then obviously the institutions involved, at that point then they will make the amendments for you, and you will get confirmation of that again through your track account. The second thing is then, if for some reason you, for example, haven't applied to Queen's at all and you're holding firm and insurance choices, but you've now decided that you would like to be considered for a course at Queen's, it may still be possible to consider you. Now, what I would say is this: the exceptions to the rule are, unfortunately, we would not be in a position to consider any additional applications for medicine, dentistry, nursing, midwifery and social work, and actuarial science and risk management, as these courses have been closed from the 15th of January. So we wouldn't be in a position to consider any additional applications at this stage. To ensure that the choice is in your best interests, what you should do initially is email admissions@qub.ac.uk, and you do need to provide full details. This will include your UCAS personal ID number, obviously your name, and the course or courses that you're interested in applying to through UCAS. We will need to know your academic background, because if you haven't applied to Queen's, we will not be able to see that via UCAS. So you will have to tell us about your GCSEs, your subjects, your grades, if you're taking A levels or if you're taking a combination of A levels and BTECs or BTECs, Scottish qualifications, for example. You will need to outline all of your qualifications there. We will then advise you if you're eligible to be considered for an offer. And if you are eligible to be considered for the course or the courses indeed that you've indicated an interest in, at that stage we will advise you that you are eligible, and that if you want to progress to Queen's, you should decline any offers that you're currently holding and apply to your chosen course via UCAS Extra to Queen's. Now, the important thing for you to remember is you do not decline any offers until we've advised that you're eligible for the course or courses that you've expressed an interest in. That is very important. So once we have said yes, you can, as I've said, then go ahead and decline your offers, and then you would apply to that additional course, and you will then have one choice. So you won't have a firm or insurance choice any longer. You will have one confirmed choice to Queen's at that stage. So that's really all I've got to say at the moment. Obviously, I think Raymond will open up now to questions. So if anybody has any questions, we will be happy to answer those.
Thanks, Sandra. Yes, the chat feature is now open. So as Sandra said, if you have any questions or queries, put them into that and we will be able to answer them for you. Sandra, thank you very much for doing that. It's great that students out there still have options at this stage. Some of them may have thought, they've made their firm and insurance choice and that's it. I've signed my life up and I can't change that, but we are still in a position and there is still time to make those changes. So that's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Let's see, our first question. We have a question coming through here. So someone has asked, what is the deadline for changing my UCAS courses?
There's not a deadline as such. Each applicant, when they choose their firm and insurance choices, they will have a 14-day cooling off period, basically, where it's like any contract, you can change your mind. However, when you go beyond that, my advice would be to you to have made your decision by the end of June.
Okay. That person's actually followed up with, is there still time to do it before the 18th of June? So obviously, yeah.
Yes, if they haven't chosen, I suppose it depends on whether they've chosen their firm and insurance already. Because if they have already chosen their firm and insurance, Raymond, at this stage, then they would have to obviously approach UCAS initially and saying that they want to change to another choice that they had an offer for already, and then obviously make contact with each of the institutions involved. But if they haven't chosen their firm and insurance, at the moment, it is still possible for them to obviously choose another choice. So they may have been thinking of a particular course in a particular institution and just haven't chosen their firm and or insurance at the moment. But now they may be thinking of changing their mind, providing they haven't chosen the firm or insurance yet. There's still time, obviously, for them to change their own mind and choose a different course for the firm and insurance. Once, obviously, they have chosen, obviously the 14-day rule obviously applies to them. And then once they're outside that, then that is where they need to contact UCAS and the institutions involved.
Okay. Another question here, Sandra. What if I contact a university about changing my course and they don't get back to me in time?
Well, that is a very difficult one because all institutions are very, very busy at the moment. So obviously you do have to choose a firm and insurance by the 18th of June. If you don't, all of the offers that you have will decline by default.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest is, if someone has been contacting a university and they haven't had a reply, I would suggest that they resend an email, and maybe in the subject put something like urgent response required due to UCAS deadline on the 18th of June. I know personally from our point of view, Raymond, we're having a really large volume of emails coming in at the moment, and it is really difficult to because everything is a priority.
Of course.
We see something like that in a subject, it helps our team, our clerical support team, to obviously triage them and obviously redirect them to the right admissions officer.
Super, thank you for that. The next question is, I have applied through UCAS Extra on the 28th of May. When will the final decision be made?
Well, at the moment we're working our way through, because obviously we still have we have a number of extra applications, but we also have a number of applications that are post 15th of January. So I know myself, I'm working my way through those. We do aim to try to have a decision made within 21 working days, because after that period of time, after 21 days, the applicant themselves can decide that they no longer wish to wait on that decision, and obviously apply then through Extra again for another institution. But we will have final decisions through before that 21-day period would lapse.
Brilliant. This person has said that they have applied to 2 courses where the firm choice is Queen's, and they want to change their insurance choice to another course in Queen's. They want to know, would this affect their firm choice at all, just in case they don't get the grades for the firm choice?
No, what will happen is your firm choice is there as your first choice, and that will always be the case. So your insurance choice is really there. I think I said early on, we call it your backup. And what happens is that your insurance choice will only ever come into play if your firm choice is not in a position to accept you. So say, for example, on A-level day, and I'm using that as an example because that's the last grades that will be published. On A-level day, you haven't quite met the grades that were required for your firm choice. Your application at that stage could still be pending, and it might be pending for a few days until we see if we can consider the academic profile that the applicant has. Then what happens is, once we make the decision, so if the decision is to accept you on that firm choice, your insurance choice basically just disappears. If something happens that we're not in a position to confirm the place on the firm choice, that is then when automatically your insurance choice upgrades to your firm. So, but that only happens when we're obviously 100% sure that we can't accept the grades that you've achieved for your firm choice. And obviously we always hope, and we hope that we will be able to be in a position to exercise some flexibility for most of our courses. So, just in the first day, sometimes what can happen is we just aren't in a position to exercise flexibility at that point. So it may take a few days. Once we've done that, hopefully that will be a positive outcome in the firm. But if it's not, your insurance is there and it will automatically upgrade. Now, I think the positive thing to remember is that your insurance choice cannot be removed or withdrawn until your firm choice has made the decision. And I think sometimes a lot of young people will panic. I know my insurance choice is going to accept me, but am I going to lose the place while I wait on a decision for the firm? And that is not the way the system works. Your insurance choice will only disappear when your firm has accepted you, or indeed if your firm hasn't been in a position to accept and they process you as unsuccessful, then your insurance choice upgrades to your firm.
That's great, Sandra. I think that'll be really reassuring for some people to hear, because they may be in a position where the decision is pending on their firm choice, and that brings with it worry. But as you just explained, all that means is we still want you. We're just considering the case. It's not a yes or a no. We're just waiting to see, can we get you in? And then again, like you said, if it turns out your firm choice is declined, you still have your insurance choice to fall back on. So that's good.
Absolutely. I think what I would reassure young people of is sometimes during the summer in the call centre, our colleagues would receive calls from young people saying, look, I know my insurance choice is going to accept me, but I'm panicking in case they take that offer away because my firm choice hasn't made the decision. That is not the way the system is designed to work. And the insurance choice, as I say, will either disappear because you've been made your firm choice, it's been confirmed, or indeed, unfortunately, if we can't accept the grades for your firm choice, then your insurance choice immediately comes into play.
Great. A few more questions coming through here, so we should be able to work through them all. This person says they're curious about swapping my standard biological science course that offers 3 to 4 months work placement to one that offers the same course but 1 year of work placement. How could I do that? So it's the same course, this person, but the work placements vary.
I think what happens, I think what the applicant's asking there, if I'm understanding it correctly, they probably have an offer for a course that doesn't actually have, it's a 3-year programme, and there will be some work placement built in within it. And then there's obviously a 4-year programme where there is a year's work placement. If they want to change, for example, and they have an offer for the non-placement, so the 3-year degree, and they would like to change that, if they drop an email, if it's Queen's obviously, if they drop an email to admissions@qub.ac.uk, just put in the subject, request to swap course from biological 3-year to 4-year with placement, and then just ensure in the body of the email that they're clear about what they want to do, and obviously just provide the UCAS personal ID number and obviously their name.
I'll just send this person a wee note to follow up on that, Sandra.
That will be fine.
The next question is, are the conditions for EU students set this year constant throughout the entire course at Queen's and other UK deadlines? Sorry,
could you just repeat? I'm not just sure what the question is actually about there.
So they're asking, are the conditions for EU students, are they constant throughout the entire course at Queen's as they would be with other UK deadlines? So EU students, are the deadlines and everything the same for them, basically?
The deadlines are exactly the same. Northern Ireland or home, so it's Northern Ireland and the rest of GB. So obviously England, Scotland and Wales and the European all have the same deadlines. So those will be retained.
This person has asked, how easy is it to change degree within the same university, as I haven't chosen my firm or insurance choice yet?
I think what I'd like probably a little bit more information from that applicant to know, are they asking if they start a degree and then want to change to another degree, how easy that is?
Okay.
And maybe if we just clarify that, I'll then give you the answer there.
Okay, sure. If that person can hear that, certainly clarify a bit more and we'll be able to answer. This person has asked, if my offer is declined by default, what happens next?
Well, if your offer is declined by default, it simply means that you haven't any offers. So if come the 18th of June, you don't choose your firm and insurance choices, everything at 6 p.m, so we need to be clear about that. So anything from 6:01 will simply decline by default. And that means if you have been lucky and had 5 offers, you then no longer have any live offers. Now, what we would always advise applicants to do is, because it does happen to some applicants every year, I would hope that it won't happen to anybody in this call, because obviously we're being clear about it. But what happens is you should contact UCAS and you should contact the institutions that you wish to actually hold your firm and insurance choices with. So say, for example, if that happened, if someone had been holding an offer at Queen's and they had been declined by default because they hadn't chosen a firm in insurance, and they contacted us. For the majority of our courses, we would say, yes, we are in a position still to consider you. So we would contact UCAS and say, we have no issue in this applicant choosing us as their CF, or indeed their CI. And sometimes it may be both in one institution. So again, I would suggest that applicants should avoid that happening if they possibly can, because it's not a good idea to just let everything decline, because what may happen at institutions is that once your decisions decline, if you then contact the institution for reconsideration, at that stage they may feel that they probably have a large volume of applications and they're not in a position to consider them any longer. But certainly from our point of view, we will do everything we can to try and help the applicant. And we would contact UCAS and say, we don't have an objection. The applicant has been declined by default, but we have no objection to them choosing us as their firm, or indeed it could be their firm and insurance.
Perfect. Next question. After the 18th of June deadline, can you still change your firm and insurance choices?
Yes. So say you only choose your firm and insurance on the 18th of June. You will have 14 days after that to change it yourself, and that would happen by you contacting obviously the customer experience team at UCAS. After you go outside that 14 days, it will be the process which we've discussed today, is that you will have to contact UCAS first of all, and then you will have to contact each of the institutions involved. And this can be quite, I suppose, complicated, because if you're holding your firm and insurance with the same institution, there might be that you're wanting to decline both of those at one institution and then pick up a firm and insurance, say at Queen's, for example. So there might only be the two, but sometimes what happens is young people will want to change both their firm and insurance. That might be at two different universities. They might want to swap those two, or they might indeed want to change them for something they've already declined. So then you could be bringing in maybe 3 institutions into the mix. But the key thing is, what you need to remember is that you need to contact all of the institutions involved once you've spoken to UCAS. But UCAS will actually, when the applicant speaks to UCAS, they will tell them to do that as well. So the key thing is, obviously at Queen's, if you're contacting us, it would be admissions at QUB. And normally I would be saying, pick up the telephone here, but in this case, obviously that can't happen. So what they will have to do again is email admissions@qub.ac.uk. And again, just be clear in the subject. For example, something like, I wish to swap my firm and insurance choices. And that obviously will bring it to our attention much more quickly, and it will allow us to prioritise it.
Sure. So I guess the title of being concise within the subject title of the email is key at whenever you're being in contact.
Yes, it's just, to be honest, at the moment, and it's not normally an issue, but at the moment it's just we're receiving such a high volume of inquiries, both from schools, colleges, applicants, etc. It is good to have something that's key in the subject so that the clerical team can triage it quickly.
Sure. That person's got back to us about that other question. So they said, what I meant was that I have applied to do law with politics, but of changing to just law degree. Is that possible before I choose my firm and insurance choice? Right.
If they have also applied to law, straight law, obviously they could choose it as their firm instead. I would suspect the answer to that is no.
Yeah.
They've probably applied for law with politics. If they want to change now, I would say just bear in mind, this is the 10th of June. So the decision does need to be made quite quickly, because you also need to give us time to actually action the request. So if that person would like to change, what I would suggest is that again, they send in an email and in the subject say, want to change of course request. And if they would put in this case, the admissions officer responsible for law is a lady called Elaine Nevin. So if they put for the attention of Elaine Nevin, that will then go to Elaine quite quickly.
No problem. I'll add a wee note just to that person so they have that.
And maybe, Raymond, if we touch base afterwards, I'll maybe give you Elaine's direct email address. I just need to check it first, but I'll give you Elaine's direct email address, which obviously would mean the young person would get to Elaine much quicker than going through, obviously, our main admissions account.
No problem. We can do that for that particular person.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be any more questions, Sandra. So thank you very much for that. If anybody thinks of anything after we have finished this webinar, please, by all means, you can get in contact with myself at studentrecruitment@qub.ac.uk or to Sandra at admissions@qub.ac.uk. So Sandra, thank you very much once again for doing this.
It's a pleasure.
Everyone who has joined us, thank you very much for taking the time to do so, and hopefully we will see you at Queen's very soon. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye and good luck, everyone.